Hello and welcome to today's video. This is my series that I finished in 2022 video. I basically just thought this would be good. I managed to finish quite a lot of series in 2022, so it's quite a lot to update on, and yeah, basically they're a decent amount, so I thought I'd make a video out of it. I do sometimes include statistics like this in like my end of year wrap up, but it would have taken up a large majority of the video, so I thought do a separate video. All good. So yeah, I have got my little notes here of all the series I've finished, and it's split into two sections. So the first section I'm going to be talking about in this video are the series that I've like finished. Like I've finished the series and the series is finished. So yeah, so I'll talk about those first, and then we'll go into series I've like caught up on but like I've technically finished for now. So these are series where I've finished every book that is currently out of the series, but the series itself isn't necessarily finished, so there will be more books in the series, at which time when they come out I won't have finished the series. I'll need to continue on. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm sure it does. Hopefully it does anyway. So yeah, we've got two types of lists, and yeah, there are 16 series that I've finished, and there are 7 series that I've caught up on. Now some of the caught up on series are very much like I've read the first book in the series, but that's all that's currently out. But for me that counts. It's a series and I've currently read all the books that are out in it. So yeah, that's the basics of the video. 23 series in total to talk about, which is really exciting and a really decent number. I definitely want to keep going with that same intention in 2023, so let's just get into it. I'm hoping I've left enough room here to include pictures. It's going to be a lot of books to get out to show all the series, so I thought I'd just leave it. We just go along with it, and I'd insert some pictures as we're going through, so hopefully there is enough room here for all the pictures needed. So yes, let's get started. So first up, the series that I've finished and are also finished. So the first series is The Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare. This is a 6-book series, and yeah, I finished it this year. It's really good. It's about shadow hunters. It's the first published series of the Shadowhunter universe. I enjoyed it. It was a reread for me. I had read it before, but I read it before a long time ago, and I'm just wanting to catch up on all the Shadowhunter books, so I decided to start from the start again. So yeah, we follow Clary and Jace and Simon and Alex and Isabel and Magnus, and they're kind of the main-ish characters. But yeah, we find a lot of things out, a lot of things happen. It's interesting. We start the series with Clary not knowing who she is, why she can see these things she's seeing, and then the people that she meets that are a part of the Shadowhunter world introduce her to it, and she learns much more about her life. Similar vein, the next series is The Infernal Devices, again by Cassandra Clare, again a part of the Shadowhunter world. So this is a 3-book series, and we follow pretty much the same lore, the same Shadowhunterness, but this one isn't set in, well, I guess the first one, The Mortal Instruments, is no longer set in the modern world because it's like 15 years old, but in this one we are in Victorian England, and it's the same sort of idea. We have Shadowhunters, we have other people and other mythical creatures that are a part of it, and we have a very similar story. We follow Tessa and Will and Jem as our main characters. Will and Jem are Shadowhunters, they know what they're doing. Tessa is kind of our newcomer, taking in the information that is needed. So yeah, again, enjoyed it, glad I read it. I'm still catching up with the Shadowhunter world, and hopefully I'll get to the newer one soon. Then we have a series that I didn't even know was a series until after I've read the first book, and that is the Holes series. So Holes was always a book that I thought was a standalone. I read it in school, we read it as a standalone, and I was rereading it, and when I put it on Goodreads I realised it's actually part of a series. There's a 2nd book in it, so I picked up that as well. That one is Small Steps. Honestly, personally, I'd say leave it as a standalone. This was one where the sequel to it just didn't really work unless you are super invested in all of the background characters that you see in Holes. You're probably not going to enjoy the 2nd one. It very much is just a couple of the background characters' lives, and it doesn't really do a lot. I didn't really enjoy it. Honestly, that's that. Someone else might enjoy it. If you're really into the series, maybe you would, but for me it just seemed unnecessary and a little bit of a cash grab, to be honest. There was nowhere really to take holes to see further. Then next up, I finished the Secret Circle series this year. The amount of time I'm going to say series in this video. But yeah, I finished it this year. Book 6 of the series, which is the final book, was one of the final reads that I did of 2022. I wanted to get it done, I wanted to get it finished. It was fine. Yeah. This is one where I feel like there was more potential than what actually happened. I feel like if this series was written now, like in 2023, we'd see a lot more from it. It wouldn't be as simple, it wouldn't be as basic, we'd see a lot more of it. But having said that, it's an older series and it was fine for what it was. The 6th book, although I didn't massively love where the series headed, where, you know, the last couple of books had taken us, the 6th book was really good at wrapping everything up, making everything feel final and giving very good conclusions. So yeah, I enjoyed books 1, 2 and 3. Books 1, 2 and 3 very much followed the same path, or like a similar path as to what the TV show did, and that's why I picked it up, because I loved the TV show when I was younger and I was like, let's give it a go. Yeah, it was alright. It was okay. Then I also started and finished the Demonata series this year. This is a 10-book series by Darren Shan, and I think I'm too old for it, honestly. I did make a video on it. I will link the video up above somewhere, but yeah, unfortunately I think this is just a series that I think younger readers would still find amazing, and me as a younger reader, when I first read this, because this was a reread, I know I did find amazing. I was so engrossed by it. It just didn't stand up to what I thought it would. It wasn't what I expected, and yeah, it was fine, it was fun. I had a decent time reading it. I hated the last book, so I don't know, but I finished it, and that's what counts for this video. Yeah, if you want my full thoughts, go to the other video. It's like fully spoiler filled, and yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, didn't particularly love the reread of it. So then I also completed my reread of Percy Jackson and the Olympians this year. Again, I've read the Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the original 5 books, before, many years ago, and I wanted to continue on in the Percy Jackson world, but didn't remember it well enough to actually just jump right in. So a reread is what was on the cards for me. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I'm so glad that I did the reread, because there was so much I didn't remember, and I had such a fun time within the series and reading it and exploring. Yeah, I'm really happy that I gave it a reread. Percy Jackson very quickly learns out that he is a demigod. He goes to Camp Half-Blood, where there's loads of other demigods, and adventures and actions pursue from there, and yeah, I think that's all you really need to know going into it. It's a fun time. Then I also completed reading the These Violent Delights duology this year. Oh my god, so good. Like, honestly, like 100% recommend. You can actually see them up here. I've got These Violent Delights and Our Violent Ends. This is what I'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, so good. Really loved it. Really love Chloe Gong's writing style, and Chloe Gong is definitely like on her way of like becoming a new favourite author. I just need to read from other series. Yeah, loved it. It was great. It's a Romeo and Juliet retelling set in 1920s Shanghai, where we follow Roma and Juliet and their families, and we have main characters and side characters, and it's a fantasy as well, so there's like fantasy aspects coming into it. So much goes on, so much goes on. Yeah, great. So glad I finished it. Next up we have Divergent. Divergent is, again, a series I read when I was younger. I wanted to reread it. I wanted to decide if I really wanted to keep it. I've been struggling to know what to do with series that I read when I was like a young teenager, because I don't remember them well enough to class them as read series. But I also don't want to keep books upstairs on my unread shelves if I'm not actually going to read them. So yeah, I've been having a difficult time to figure out what to do. I've decided I'm just going to reread them. But if partway through the reread I'm not enjoying it, I'm not liking it, like I'd DNF it was the first time, I'm DNFing and I'm just leaving it as it is. So far I haven't DNF'd. I am close to DNFing one series, but I'm not going to give you one more chance. But yeah, that's basically what I'm doing. I'm just treating all of them upstairs even if I read them when I was like, you know, 10, 12, 14, whatever, I am going back and I'm reading them again. Every book in this room has been read within the last 3 years, and I remember them all well enough that if I got asked a question on them, I would be able to answer. And that's kind of how I see it, as like having read them. Like, I'm not saying I could go into super detail, you know, like I've got massive series here, like Throne of Glass. No, you couldn't say what exactly happens in this one, a chapter, whatever. No, but I could give you a synopsis of the series, and I could tell you if you're reading it. Like, I could join in conversation as to like what was going on, how you feeling, stuff like that. So that's how I'm treating it basically. I'm just going through and reading them like that. So yeah, I'm glad I reread Divergent. It stood up a lot better than I thought it would, and it was a decent read. So yeah, that's that. Then we have The Cruel Prince. I read this trilogy-ish. I don't know how to class this one. I can't remember in my reading journal whether I've classed it as a trilogy or more. There's basically The Cruel Prince trilogy, but then there's also a short story that happens at the same time as when you're reading book one, and then there's also a collection of short stories in like a bind up afterwards. I read all of them, so either I read it all, but I just don't know how to class it basically. So yeah, it was good, it was a fun time. I enjoyed the world, I enjoyed how fairies worked, I enjoyed all of that, and I enjoyed our main characters as well. They were strong, they were decent. Like, you could not predict in a bad way, but you knew their personalities well enough that you could predict what their potential reaction would be, and I like that. Yeah, it was a good time, it was a fun time. And I will definitely be picking up the new series that's coming out at some point this year. Then we have the Tea Dragon Society. This is a graphic novel series. It's a trilogy. They're really fun. They are aimed at like middle grade age, but I'm an adult now. I love them. They're so good. They're so like simple and easy and sweet, and have such real life perspectives in them, even though, you know, like they are very simple little graphic novels. And I just think they're amazing. Like, they truly made me smile the entire way through. They were so good and so cute as well. Like, in this Tea Dragon Society, you have people and tea dragons, and tea dragons are basically like these little dragons that sprout up tea leaves, like different types. So you have like a chamomile and I can't think of any others right now, but like different, you know, like what tea you'd get now, what flavours you can buy in bags. You'd harvest them from the tea dragon, and yeah, it was really lovely, really interesting. And at the back of each graphic novel there's like a collection of 6 to 10 tea dragons, like just like their name and their description and like what sort of personality traits they have. And I just think they're big cats. Honestly, that is now what I'm saying, because the way like personality traits were, like they were definitely throughout the three, the ones where I was like, that's Geoff, that's Jafar. Like, they are just big cats that produce tea leaves, and yeah, I loved it. It was a great time. Then we have Shadow and Bone. It was fine, it was alright. I'm glad I read it, because I do feel like I needed to read it to get a true like introduction to the world and understand. I didn't like our main characters. Every time something happened that I thought was good, that I was like, oh yeah, like this is something that's actually going to change the story, this is something that, like, you know, we've been waiting for to give it that push, somehow it magically would be undone. And that happened a lot, like a lot. Yeah, so that's that. I don't really have a lot else to add. Like, it was fine, but it's just mediocre, honestly. Like, it wasn't great, wasn't bad, it's just okay. Then we have Throne of Glass. I did mention this one earlier when describing the series, but yeah, Throne of Glass was one that I finished in 2022. I really enjoyed it. I'd read some of it before. I think books 1, 2 and 3. Yeah, so books 1, 2 and 3 I'd read before when I was younger, but at the time I read them, like, the others weren't out. So over the last year I collected them all, and then once I had them all I read all of them, and oh my god, they were so good. I was so absorbed in the world. I was so like in it, and every book had such a big twist in it that really changed the like trajectory of where the next book was going to go. And like, you'd think you'd know what was going on. Oh, Jafar's pressed play on my video. Oh, but yeah, I loved it. One of the Throne of Glass books, I won't say too much because it's a video that I'm going to be filming after this one, but one of them has made it on my top books of the year. So yes, very much enjoyed It was so much fun. Yeah, and then the next series is the Spiderwick Chronicles. This is one I went to Hay-on-Wye earlier in the year, and in like a little alleyway where all books were £1, they had the 5 original Spiderwick Chronicle books. So I got them, I read them, they were so fun, they were so sweet, they were so cute. Yeah, I had a really great time with them, and they're all very little, they're all very small, and they were a bit predictable, but I just had a great time. They were very nice, like refreshers, palette cleansers, like really what I wanted for the time I was reading them. And yeah, they were really great. So that's that really. Then the next series that I finished is Bloodlines. This is the sequel series to the Vampire Academy series. I read Vampire Academy in 2021 and in 2022 I spent some time reading Bloodlines. So yeah, it's a 6-book series. Read all of them, really enjoyed them. I don't know if I preferred it to Vampire Academy, but like it was up there. Like, to say it was a sequel series and it was just like expanding upon the world, like I didn't expect too much going into it, but it was absolutely amazing. Like, it honestly blew me away, the storylines, what we saw, and like there were some characters that we saw a bit of in Vampire Academy that you kind of find yourself like, oh, I'd like to know more about them. And those happened to be the characters that were like, not main characters, but like supporting characters in the Bloodline series. And yeah, it was great. It was really, really good. If you've read Vampire Academy and enjoyed it, I would definitely recommend reading Bloodlines as well. Then the next series that I read was the Six of Crows duology. I went into this with high hopes because I'd found Shadow and Bone mediocre, like it was okay. And everyone said that Six of Crows was so much better, was so good. And honestly, I just felt it was more of the same. And I didn't even vibe with the characters as much in that one. I don't know, like again, it was an alright series. I'm happy to have read it. It was fine. Yeah. Wasn't good, wasn't bad. I think a lot of people say you can read Six of Crows without reading Shadow and Bone. I feel like a lot of the world and like the world knowledge that I had from Shadow and Bone helped with Six of Crows because the world wasn't really explained that much, either in which we're expected to know how the world works and what was going on. So I definitely feel like I'm glad I read Shadow and Bone and then Six of Crows. Except for that, I don't really have a lot to add. It was just okay. And then the final series that I finished and is finished that I read in 2022 is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Now, am I happy I finished this one? I do not know. Books 1 and 2, amazing. Absolutely amazing. I love them so much. Book 3 went in a very different direction. I'll just say that. I don't think I loved it. I really don't think I liked it at all, to be honest. Yeah, book 3 was quite disappointing. I did also read the little mini prequel. That was fun. Like, it wasn't anything amazing, but it was fun. But yeah, I'm glad I read it. I just wish book 3 had been different. I wish it had ended in a different way. But yeah, there's not a lot I can do about that. Okay, before we move on to the series that I've like caught up on, like I've finished what's out, I'm going to quickly take a picture of the cat because he's being absolutely ridiculously cute, and I'll add this picture in so you can see. Let's get into the next section of the video. So these are series I've finished what is out of them, but the series itself hasn't ended. So at some point, either in 2023 or even more into like, you know, following years, there will be more books coming out in all of these series, which at that point I won't have finished the series. I'll need to keep going. So yes, there are 7 books on this list, so it won't take as long to go through, but I am very intrigued to continue all these series. All these series are definitely ones that I will be continuing, and honestly all these series are high up there on series I've enjoyed. So let's just get into them. The first one is The Sad Ghost Club. I read volume 2 in 2022, so that caught me up with that. It's fun, it's a graphic novel, it's very quick to read. When the new volumes come out, they're very easy to pick up, sit down, read and finish, and I really enjoy it. It's a good time. Well, it's not a good, it's a good book, it's not a good time. I don't know, it deals with a lot of things, but honestly I just find the way it describes the difficulties that it tackles is just so real. Like, it's so relatable, and having it in this little world and seeing what's going on, I really enjoy it. So yeah, all caught up on it. Can't wait for the next volume to come out. Then we have ACOTAR. So during 2022 I reread the first two. Yeah, I think I'd read 1 and 2 before, and then continued on with the series and caught up with it. I read all of them that are currently out. I'm really enjoying the series. I'm a little apprehensive to continue and see where it goes. That reasoning is not due to what I know from reading the ACOTAR books. It's from external things. If you know, you know. If you don't know, sorry, but I'm not saying any more because I don't want to potentially spoil anyone. But yeah, I'm excited but apprehensive to see where this series continues on to. Then the next series is Crescent City. I read book 1. Book 2 isn't out in paperback yet, and I've got it on the Kindle. I read it on the Kindle. Still can't wait for it to come back out in paperback so I can reread it and annotate, because bloody hell do I need to annotate to fully understand that one. But yeah, really enjoyed. I read both the first and the second book this year, pretty much back to back. Once I'd finished the first, I could not wait to get into the second. And yeah, I think that book 3 is potentially coming out this year. When looking on Goodreads, it does now say expected 2023, but there's no date and no cover, so taking that with a pinch of salt. But yeah, potentially we'll get the 3rd this year. Then the 4th series is Foul Lady Fortune. This is this one here, which I did kind of point out before. So Foul Lady Fortune is the first book of a new series by Chloe Gung, but it is following on from the events of the These Violent Delights duology. The These Violent Delights duology takes place in 1920s Shanghai. Then the Foul Lady Fortune, which is the one we're talking about now, takes place in 1930s Shanghai. And some of the like side characters from the first duology are now main characters in this one. So much fun. I'm absolutely loving it. I'm having a great time with it. I can't wait for, I think we've got both a little short story collection and the second book of the duology coming out in 2023, and I cannot wait. Like, I just know as soon as they come out I'm gonna like devour them. Like, I've pre-ordered the short story collection because I need it, and yeah, so yeah, a series that I'm really enjoying. Then the next series is the Murderbot Diaries. I'm classing all Murderbot books within this series because I don't really know how to separate them out. There is technically one book that isn't a novella, and I don't think everyone classes as a part of the series, but they all take part in the same world and follow the same timeline and everything. So I'm classing it all together and I caught up with it. It's great, it's amazing. It is down here behind me, but it is a sci-fi series where we follow Murderbot. Murderbot is a sec unit that has hacked its own governor module and can essentially think for itself. We really expand upon that. We meet lots of people, we see lots of things, we see lots of different things throughout this world, throughout space. We try and understand a bit better what is going on, and I just love it. I just love it. Can't wait for more books in the series to come out. Then we have the Thursday Murder Club, bit of a different vibe to I think all the books on this list, but the Thursday Murder Club is a series by Richard Osman, which if you live in the UK you'll know who he is. Like, he does a lot of like presenting and game shows and stuff, and I think comes up with the concepts for a lot of those as well. So he was on Pointless for many years. He's got his own like game show now called, I think it's called like House of Games or something like that. But yeah, he started writing these books and they are amazing. I read the 3rd book this year. I couldn't believe how much I enjoyed it. Each book just keeps expanding upon the previous. We follow these 4 80-year-old pensioners who live in a retirement village, and every Thursday they meet up in the jigsaw room to solve a cold case. And then in book 1 we find out that a murder's happened right in their front doorstep and they've got a real live case that they can wiggle their way into and help solve. And each book is different. Each book takes on a different case, a different thing, and we follow these characters and they're so lovable and so nice, and it's just great. So yeah, really looking forward to continuing on. And then the final series that I've started and caught up on this year is the Her Majesty's Royal Coven series, which I think is being abbreviated just to HMRC, but I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if there's like a real name for the series, but the first book, this bright pink one you can see here, is called Her Majesty's Royal Coven. This is the first book in the series. I absolutely loved it. It was so good. It didn't get 5 stars from me. Like, it's not without its faults, but I feel like the series as a whole has potential to be like a 5-star series for me. So yeah, I just can't wait to learn more, and the way that the first book ended, I don't even know where we're going. I don't even know what could potentially happen in the second book. I'm very intrigued, really want to know, really want to catch up. So yeah, that was the 7th and final book in the caught up on section. So yeah, those were the 23 series that I've either finished or finished to catch up on in 2022. I don't really have anything else to add. I'm really happy with the number. I'm really happy with how the year went. I hope you enjoyed the video. If there are any series that you would recommend, any series that I've mentioned in here that I've really liked and you think there's similar series that I'd enjoy, do let me know in the comments down below. Do give the video a like if you liked it. Subscribe for more content like this, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye.